do this.
days, and there were reports of powerful explosions in the capital, Kyiv.
Росія розпочала війну проти України не
In his latest video message,
I just love this because look at this man. Looking good. Sorry, I just wanted to throw that up there.
He give you a boner?
In Russia, Ukraine stomp you. In Ukraine,
Ukraine stomp you.
Ukraine stomp you. All right. So we were left off. I am the J. Tyler.
I am your Miss Parker.
This is nothing alive. Where we left off is if you're against the anti-grooming bill, you're probably a groomer, or at least you don't denounce the grooming of 4 to 8 year old children. Said, wait, was this a lawmaker that said this?
Scroll up. It was DeSantis' spokesperson.
No. Well, oh yeah, but I mean that was Pshaw.
Yeah, and that's DeSantis'
Right.
spokesperson.
Right. So then,
Essentially, DeSantis said that. So he's calling it the anti-grooming bill, which is
don't say gay, anti-grooming.
oh, but saying grooming is perfectly all right. Saying pedophilia is perfectly fine. Okay, so get this. A pastor even organized an anti-grooming rally
And we
at
looked, it
Disney
wasn't
headquarters in California.
It wasn't Locke.
No.
He was shimming.
It's
He was too busy shimming and coming.
it's this idea that they're the ones who are saying grooming all the time.
Right.
Nobody else, nobody who wants to educate the children is using the term grooming. So they have an anti-grooming seminar to tell these people what not to do. You know,
when she tells me this stuff, I just like.
It seems to me that if you're even mentioning it, that you're guilty or something, or you're I don't know. You know, I've never spoken to anyone who feels this way, so I
don't have issues with it.
I can't get into their heads, but this type of rhetoric is damaging in its own right. As commentator David French writes in his newsletter, throwing around accusations of pedophilia, sympathy for pedophilia, grooming, or sympathy for grooming is a recipe for threats and violence.
Also, so is talking about your colleagues doing cocaine-fueled sex parties.
Yep. An assessment that some historians endorse. The latest pedophilia panic overlaps with the false beliefs of the QAnon movement, which fueled the Pizzagate incident in 2016.
I love Pizzagate.
But bills such as Florida's are also likely to have a chilling effect on comprehensive sexual education in schools with deleterious effects.
Look, just learn from your older siblings, because that's how you learn about sex in the South.
Right.
You learn
exactly.
learn from your brother.
Comprehensive sex ed doesn't just help prevent bullying; it helps kids have healthier relationships of all kinds.
That there's my girl. Anyone has sex with my sister, it's going to be me.
Said every Republican.
Compared with abstinence-only sex education or no sex education at all, comprehensive sex ed helps reduce teen pregnancy rates. One meta-analysis found that European countries, many of which offer comprehensive and mandatory sex ed, including for young children, tend to have the lowest rates of child sexual abuse.
Yeah, because they're not afraid about talking about their tallywhacker.
They probably call it by its proper biological name.
Yeah. They are educated after all.
It's kind of like if you take let's say a tomato, and you wrap it up in
tomato.
Okay, tomato. You wrap it up in plastic and wrap it up in a paper towel. And then you take another tomato and you set it out. Who do you think is going to get moldy first?
Not the chocolate-covered tomato.
Certainly not the chocolate-covered tomato. Not the best analogy, but the point is that when you shield somebody from something, you're creating...
No, you made the point earlier that you were like, if children are least comfortable with saying like, yeah, this guy touched my dink, all right? See, now I'm a little kid too. Touch my Mr. Johnson touched my tallywhacker.
Well, if you don't educate kids about where it's not appropriate to be touched, they're going to learn it from possibly a groomer who's going to tell them it's okay. I'm a
Look,
grown up. It's okay.
Also, calling penises tallywhackers means that some poor bastard is going to call his dick a tallywhacker and be made fun of for school, right? Like
Yeah, that's
it,
also
like,
a risk
you're miseducated. You're not supposed to call it penis. You're supposed to call it fireman.
Or otherwise you get a spanking.
Right. It's like, dude, you're stunting these kids' growth. It's like, yeah, I mean, my tallywhacker fell off.
But that's funny.
I got a sore on my tallywhacker, said lots of Republicans, I'm sure.
Yeah. After their sex orgy parties.
Again, like if you have a child that has an emergency with their penis and they're like, something's wrong with tallywhacker, like they're made fun of forever. That's it. You just fucked that kid up.
Yeah, especially in the South, they'd repeat that shit for generations.
Let's call that proxy fucking.
Yeah,
God,
that's a good band name.
band name.
Sex education is the exact opposite of grooming, says Nora Gelpern, the director of sexuality education at Advocates for Youth, a sex ed nonprofit. And of course, she doesn't know what the fuck she's talking about.
Dude, you said the word sex, sexual, and sexuality in such a short span of time,
and combined it with youth.
that half the Republicans just died.
And the other ones jizzed in their pants.
Yeah, exactly.
Sex education, even when started in the earliest grades, has shown to be protective for kids, especially around child sexual abuse.
Yeah, we're talking about protection, son. You know, things that you guys don't use in the South.
And there's a part in here where it talks about how predators don't target kids who are educated about sex. They're
Right,
less
that was
likely
the
to
one- that
target
was-
those
yeah,
kids.
Yeah,
a
because they
tw-
can say penis. This pervert touched my penis.
Yeah,
We should teach them those words too.
yeah. And then
If somebody wants to touch your penis and you don't want them to, they are called rapists.
if you are a child,
Feel free to point them out.
if you're a child and somebody who's not your doctor,
Right.
and your mother's not in the room wants to touch your penis,
Feel free to point them out.
They're
You
a
won't have to
pervert
worry about that.
predator. Yeah.
You won't have to worry about it. You just say, "Oh, Mr. Jones touched my penis." And then we'll take care of it from there.
Yeah,
No scarring, no anything. You won't even know what happened
right.
to your teacher.
Right. The adults will take care of it from there on. And
The idea, though, is what you were saying. Do not be afraid to say he touched my boner. Like, but don't say tallywhacker, please. Like, don't be a mess and cough.
and don't say hoo-ha
Yeah.
for the vagina.
Yeah,
either.
exactly. Like, just use the words and people will not laugh you out of the room.
Here's a statistic.
I think we should actually teach all Republican children to say tallywhacker just out of hilarity.
Yeah, but they're going to be victims.
No,
It's
just-
not their fault
right.
that they were born to.
You're right. As much as I
Ignorance.
enjoy victimizing Republican children, wait, that damn it, it didn't come out right.
Here's a statistic that
Parents.
people need to know.
Okay.
93% of child sexual abuse victims
Is Republicans.
know their abuser.
Jeffrey Epstein.
is what it says. They know their abuser. Instead, these programs help children identify the difference between
Wow.
appropriate and inappropriate touching, the difference between tattling and keeping unsafe secrets, and how to identify abusive situations. In other words, sex ed isn't grooming. It protects kids from grooming.
So 93% of child sexual abuse victims knew their abuser. The other 7% were abused by Republicans.
I would say a portion of that 93% is probably,
Oh,
is that where you were going?
no, I'm saying the other 7% paid to have to have sexual congress with a woman or a child that they bought. That's what I'm saying.
Matt Gates, in other words.
I'm just saying.
Just saying. We
I'm
can
saying
say it,
that-
right?
that they paid. That the other, I'm assuming that 93% of them knew their abusers, and the other 7% were bought and paid for by Matt Gates and his ilk. I don't know that for sure. It's just a theory.
It's something
that
people are saying.
some people have said that Matt Gates and the Republicans as a general are very shady when it comes to talking about sex. And really it's because they don't want to talk about sex, because then they come up in the context. Look, they're filthy animals.
It makes them really uncomfortable.
It makes them uncomfortable. They're like, oh, what, sex? Like, I don't, oh my God, who talks about that, right?
Yeah, so here's where it says modern sex ed also seems to give kids a sense of empowerment, including by teaching them the correct names for their own genitals. Predators
Tallywhacker and hoo-ha.
Predators are less likely to select a child who can accurately talk about those body parts, Gelprin says,
We're talking about math, she says.
than a child that is ignorant of what those body parts are actually called. It also makes kids less likely to victimize one another. One program for 8th graders called Safe Dates was associated with lower rates of physical and sexual dating violence 4 years later compared with a control group.
Oh, wow. So the control group got thrown under the bus in this study.
Yeah, control groups, that we have to know these things.
I'm
but
dying to
it's-
know who funded this study. Was it pedophiles? Did pedophiles fund this study so that they could know exactly? Are they doing?
I'm going to tell you right now.
This is research, right? Like they're doing.
Whoops. I just
Yeah, you went and touched the mouse. Is what happened.
we can always go back, but it says here the study is called Assessing the Long-Term Effects of Safe Dates Program and a Booster in Preventing and Reducing Adolescent Dating Violence, Victimization, and Perpetration.
Look, so apparently we had to have a study because you guys were victimizing kids so much that we had to throw these study subjects under the bus so that we could figure out exactly what you pedophiles are saying to the children to get them into bed or whatever.
So they're essentially, we're having to have control groups of kids who are going to have worse results because you asshole Republicans
you're forcing
are not following common sense.
Look, I'm telling you, I think this is a research study by pedophiles. I bet this research study.
Don't get rid of it. I wanted to read the objectives, methods, and okay.
But the research. Where were we before now?
Just go back. Go back
Where?
to no, right there. I'm going to read the
Okay.
Okay, the objectives. This study determined 4-year post-intervention effects of safe dates on dating violence, booster effects, and moderators of the program effects. Methods. We gathered baseline data in 10 schools that were randomly allocated to a treatment condition. We collected follow-up data 1 month after the program and then yearly thereafter for 4 years. Between the 2 and 3 year follow-ups, a randomly selected half of treatment adolescents received a booster. Results. Compared with controls, adolescents receiving safe dates reported significantly less serious physical, and sexual dating violence perpetration and victimization 4 years after the program. The booster did not improve the effectiveness of safe dates.
I don't know where you're going.
I'm not sure.
This.
Okay, so
this is so incredibly dry that.
Okay, so what they're saying is the program itself helped prevent serious physical, and sexual dating violence
for a percentage.
As compared to a control. And then they're saying the booster program that they put in the middle didn't seem to alter.
Well, I'm just dying to know who they used as a control. Like
it's the same group of kids.
Random.
They randomly, that's usually how these things are done.
Right, like just a survey, right?
Go back. Conclusion, safe dates shows promise for preventing dating violence, but the booster should not be used.
The booster?
And that's from the booster program. They do the general program, and then they followed up with a certain group of kids to do the booster program, and that didn't seem to have an effect. And this was published in the American Journal of Public Health. And of course, they don't know what the fuck they're talking about because they're pedophiles and perverts, right?
I don't know. That's a
Republicans?
bunch of names with PhDs behind them.
Yeah. Yeah. They don't know what the fuck they're talking
I
about.
know, but they have 3 names. There's a couple of them in there I'm worried about. Like this, there's a couple names in here I'm worried about just because they're
Fauci, Bauman,
Mm.
Ennett.
Felcher.
Oh, yeah. You can't read the word Fletcher because it's always Felcher.
That's always Felcher.
Benefield and Suchendron.
I'm wondering, like, who were the people that, like, who was the control and what was their experience?
Well, if you
and
want to read through this dry
Yeah.
thing, I'm sure it'll tell you
it's super
everything.
dry, and no, I'm not going to do that. 'Cause
But this is how we learn.
yeah, I know.
There are people who do stuff
tell
like
me
this, and I'm grateful. This is science.
It is. You can't argue with the numbers in the end, but the numbers are screaming like the right side is wrong, and I don't know how to get. Oh, sorry, that turned off.
That's okay. No biggie.
Oh, why won't that do that? Oh.
Yeah.
Ah.
Zelensky. That's your boy.
Hey, you know what? If I had a man crush, like this is the guy.
Oh, I think a lot of people are in love with him now.
He's just like, I'm gonna die or not. Like, what are we gonna do here?
Everybody's gonna die sometime,
You
and
know
I'm
what?
gonna die fighting.
I
if
have
that's gonna
been. I
happen.
have had this thing before we get to the next segment, which is Florida Man, and you guys are gonna love it, right? So this is like the first white war since like World War II.
Yeah.
It's the first time white people have been killing each other, right? Here we are talking about like supply chain issues and this. It's like, come on, man, why do we gotta have a study? Let's just round up the pedophiles and I don't know.
The problem is pedophiles are really, really good. They are better at covering up what they do than anybody else
Alcoholics.
is figuring than anyone else is at figuring out who they are.
I agree. And so we're getting to that, but it's like this is a white war. Like I love this concept of this TikTok war. This is not like Russia's like, we're gonna take over the whole country in like one day. And I'm like, oh God, this is Trump saying 25 people have died. It's gonna go away like a miracle. Right. I was just like, oh shit, right? Son, now they're losing warships, big warships, and they're losing people, and the Russian soldiers are pissed and they're retaliating by killing 1,000 innocent civilians and stuff, and it's just like it's just this back and forth.
Remember that analysis that we watched of that guy who had the map and was, pointing to different areas about this was before the Russians invaded. Do you remember how he said that the best the Russians can hope for is that they go in and
everybody just like,
and carpet bomb the place and
Ukraine I thought it was
surrenders.
like Russia goes in and Ukraine's just like,
yeah,
okay,
but
like, hands up.
The point that he made several times is Russia cannot afford a lengthy occupation, and I'm just wondering how long it will take of them occupying.
I'm just saying
Ukraine.
this is like how does this does Putin backpedal? Does Putin go like, because again, like the only thing that justifies an unjustified war is by winning and then rewriting history and murdering all the people that don't agree with you, that's just what happens. I mean, you can argue with me all you want about this, but I don't know, absorbed the hundreds of wars, and it's like, this is how it works.
But history, I think, is written differently now.
But now it's like we're just watching it in real time.
Everything's on social
we're
media.
We're memeing it. It's TikTok. You got this guy, like, dude, you can't kill this guy. Shit would hit the fan.
Yeah, there's still propaganda, But like I said, history is being written differently now.
Right. And I'm just saying, like,
Because you have different perspectives.
but also, like, look at this. Do you think if Zelensky was murdered tomorrow, that all of a sudden the war would be over?
Hell no.
Oh no. He's a modern day Franz Ferdinand.
I'll bet his wife would step up. I'll bet his wife would step up and
No, he's a fucking martyr. You can't touch this guy. At this point, if you killed him, people would lose their minds. So you got to win the war and jail him, and then trump up some shit or whatever, do whatever to like try to break him down into somebody. But if you just straight up murder this guy, he's a martyr. He's a freedom fighter at that point.
Yeah.
But I just like this level of bravery is exhibited only because there is a level of like, hey, if you like, here is a line. Here is Zelensky. Like, you have a line. If you cross it, and like I said, they killed 1,000 people and stuff like that. But it's like, this is going to be interesting to see how this plays out, because there's only one way this goes. That is that Putin is gone. That's going to fucking enrage Russia. So you kill him, you enrage Ukraine. You kill Putin, you enrage Russia. Like, but this is chess. They're like playing this little game, and the most important thing is that they don't like that Russia doesn't like gas or nuke or do something incredibly stupid. But this thing is escalating rapidly.
It's so funny. I'm so nihilistic. I've heard it said both ways, but during the 80s, I was terrified of nuclear war.
Yeah,
we're probably closer to it now than we were then, and I'm not scared. I'm just like, if that's how I gotta go, I gotta go.
Just do it.
Yeah,
like, just fucking do it already, because you guys are gonna pay too. Like, it's not like rich people are just off the hook if there's a nuclear war. They use it as this is political theater, but real people are dying.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's like you think about this, like, while everybody in the world is looking at this guy, we're looking at things like, holy shit, Greg Abbott is trying to make Biden look bad by clogging up the border because of unnecessary inspections of things that already been inspected. Nobody sees that, really. They just go like, yeah, look, oh, however you want to interpret it. But it's like, what, when you like, I have to widen my focus sometimes, and then sometimes I have to narrow it. But when I do narrow my focus on a particular, I don't know, pet peeve I have, I tend to lose perspective.
Yeah.
And what you're forgetting about is the fact that while this shit is going on over Russia,
we're bombing Yemen. Is that?
And you got Greg Abbott clogging up the border and making Biden look bad. It's so obvious, and it's a perfect time to do this stuff.
Yeah.
Like, the moves are being made, and the things that really you need to be looking at are the things you kind of care about the least. What I look for in our stories and shows, I look for things that no one is talking about.
Mm-hmm.
And then I find out everything I can about that. And then what you realize is you'll start to realize, you'll just be like, meanwhile in Utah, right? Meanwhile, like, Ukraine headline, ship got sank. Meanwhile, Greg Abbott is clogging up the fucking supply chain, and his merry band of talking heads are talking about how transgender people are the reason why inflation is a thing. Like, so sometimes I have to narrow my focus.
Well, I think you have to know where you need to put your energy. I got into this with Karl Kopf. He thinks that I should avoid politics entirely, and that I'm wasting my time.
You are just a woman.
Well, maybe that was it.
And he is just a Jehovah's Witness.
Well, I think that there's a connection between being a Jehovah's Witness and then feeling like you have absolutely no power over anything, over the government. And I don't live like that. I can't live like that. I think I've actually made a difference. I mean, in small ways, but if everybody does a small thing, like if everybody gave money to those 2 candidates in Georgia in 2020, they won the fucking election. They gave us a majority. And
I thought it was just because I was watching and I was like, win.
yeah, you made it happen.
Yes,
See, you can make a difference.
I can't.
Now help this guy.
Wishful thinking. All right, you guys, we're gonna be back with Florida Man in a moment. I am the Jake Tyler.
I am your Miss Parker.
This
Is Nothing Yet Live.
spirited debate.
Not really a debate.